Vaught?
Yes.
Ms. Turkington?
Yes.
Ms. Polachina?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jeff. Item 6, kicking it off, approval of minutes. Approval of the minutes of the following meetings as reported by the board secretary, reviewed by the board president and members of the board. September 12th, 2022 special meeting, September 26th executive meeting, and September 26th regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve items 6, A through C?
I'll move. Second.
Thank you. Jeff, please call roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert?
Yes to A, abstain from B and C.
Mr. DeStefano?
Yes.
Mr. Falcone?
Yes.
Mr. Grunfelder?
Yes.
Ms. Gulon?
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt?
Yes.
Ms. Turkington?
Yes.
Ms. Polachina?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes, sir. Item 7, superintendent's report and HIP report. Mr. D.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Pigrillo had a death in the family. He's not able to make it tonight. He asked me to fill in, and I'm very honored to do so. I'm paraphrasing his report. He starts off with discussion on CUSAC. CUSAC is a sort of an evaluation of what a Board of Education and a school district must go through. The evaluation is conducted by the Sussex County Department of Education every 3 years. The last one took place in 1920, and we were very honored to pass that evaluation. By November 15th, we must submit a district performance review, which is essentially a self-assessment, and that self-assessment drives much of what happens when they visit us in April of this year. The areas that are reviewed include instruction and program, fiscal management, governance, operations, and personnel. And we must get a passing grade in every one of those 5 areas. 1 grade below passing, and the entire process is a failure. So we will be doing our best to get the DPR together. Dr. Piccirillo has asked the board to consider a brief resolution meeting on November 7th to approve the DPR. We are still awaiting information from the state, which will allow us to complete that. But for the next week or so, that will be a high priority item. Dr. Pigrillo asked a special thank you to Sean Longo and Kurt Zimmerman for meeting with SAC committee this month to discuss their efforts to improve student outcomes in the middle school and high school respectively. It is hoped that some of those programs put forth might be voted upon next month at the Board of Education meeting, with the idea that they are supported by federal funds. Mr. Grunfelder and Mr. DiStefano will be attending the school boards conference. Mr. Hollenbach has intended going for a day. Because of the situation in Dr. Piccirillo's family, he will be unable to attend, and because of his absence, I will not be attending. On the agenda tonight is board approval of the memorandum of agreement between our schools and law enforcement. This is a state MOA memorandum of agreement approved by the Attorney General and Commissioner of Education. It is uniform throughout the state. It's something that we sign off on each and every year. And Dr. Piccirillo has developed a strong relationship with the County Prosecutor's Office and also Chief McCluskey in the Hopatcong Police Department. As an aside, we are very honored to work with the police department that consistently gives us significantly great service, and it is a pleasure. November calendar, November 8th is Election Day. The Board of Ed office building and Hopatcong Middle School will both serve as polling centers. This will be the last year the middle school will be used as a polling place, and we're thankful that the electoral officials understand that it is not an optimal situation. That being said, the middle school will have additional security on Election Day so that people can vote, that students and people who are voting will be separated via supervision. November 11th is also Veterans Day. Please accept a special thank you to all those in the community who have courageously served our country. Dr. Piccirillo asked me to thank Tina from the Center of Prevention and Counseling, who's supposed to be at our meeting tonight, to give some information about the excellent programs that are put forth by this organization, also discussing what is an annual major program, the Middle School Summit. I've been working with the Center for Prevention and Counseling for many years, and they consistently continue to do not only a great job, but every year they get better and better and better, and it's an honor to work with them. When that is done, I will give an update on standardized testing, CUSAC, gifted and talented, and professional development. That ends the superintendent report, sir.
All right. Dina?
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you? I'm going to come over here just so I can see you guys and these folks over here. So my name's Tina Owie. I am the Director of Prevention Services at the Center for Prevention and Counseling. I've been with the agency for 20 years. I love what I do at my office because it allows me an opportunity to make a positive impact every day with the work that we do within the communities that not only I work in, but that I live into. My husband and I both grew up here in Hopatcong. We still reside in Sussex County, and I'm happy to be able to still serve Hopatcong. At our agency, we have 3 pillars. We have a prevention pillar, we have a treatment pillar, and then we have a recovery pillar. Each one of our pillars really work in connection with one another to make sure that we are delivering the best possible services to our community members. I'm here to share with you a little bit about the prevention team that we have and the work that we do specifically here in Hopatcong. If you take a look at all of our prevention work, we are in 65% of our school buildings in Sussex County, well, our school districts. And when I say we're in the schools, we're delivering curriculum. So we're there for a minimum of 6 weeks, up to a maximum of about 15 weeks. And when we deliver curriculum, we like to do it in health classes for all students. There are some programs that we offer that are for select kids, and those kids are selected by guidance counselors or teachers. Here in Hopatcong, we do programs for your second grade students called Footprints. We do programs for your 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students, and that's a program called Botlin's Life Skills. And we do a program called We're Not Buying It for all your 6th grade students. And then new, because there was a need, one of your school teachers actually asked us if we could start doing life skills training for 7th grade students. So we were able to write a grant that we just submitted yesterday to do life skills for your 7th grade kids here at Hopatcong School District. All of our programs are grant funded, so we receive grants through Department of Health, Division of Mental Health and Addiction Services. We have grants also through Newton Medical Center for Hopatcong. That's primarily to serve your freshman students, where they'll be engaged in a program called Preventure. Preventure is a program that screens all 9th graders, those individuals, those students that bubble to the top as being at risk will receive 2 90-minute interventions with trained specialists, all geared towards reducing their risk for substance use disorder. At our agency, we focus primarily on substance use disorder. Our goal in prevention is to, 1, build prevention infrastructure within our community, 2, to delay the onset of substance use as long as possible. We know that those with substance use disorder start using substances before the age of 18. So if we can delay the start, there's a better chance that they won't engage in substance use disorder. And then 3 is to make sure that we're delivering evidence-based programs to students. All of the programs that we deliver have gone through research, they've been evaluated, and they're either funded or supported by the CDC or a National Institute on Drug Abuse. So we have a lot of programming going on here in Hopatcong. We have been in this community for the last 4 years doing curriculum, but Hopatcong has been part of our agency for as long as I've been at the agency, which is 20 years. Art had mentioned the summit that your school participated in with our agency. Taking Flight to Change Summit, Hopatcong sent 30 students. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students attended. That was 2 weeks ago, where we had over 600 kids together at Sussex Technical School for a day of networking with other kids, a day of empowerment so that students can see what other schools are doing in regards to positive school climate. And then kids were then charged with going back to their school district to make a plan, come up with an action plan of what they're going to continue to do within their school building. So Hopatcong School District has been a part of that for as long as we've been doing the summit, which is 22 years. They're strong partners. We also do something called What's Your Anti-Drug, which rolled out recently. We're taking submissions for this now. Your kids always submit entries for this. This is an 8-page supplement that is supported by our agency, but also the New Jersey Herald. Every year you guys have at least 2, 3, sometimes 4 winners published in here. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. Dr. Picarillo did ask us to come to share what programs we're doing, a little bit about our agency, and to answer any questions that board members might have or anybody that was here from the public might have. So any questions, concerns,
I don't have
thoughts?
any questions now, but can we contact you after the meeting?
You can. So what you have, so our agency, like I said, we have 3 pillars. If you look at our annual review, it's like 30 pages long. So what I did for you is I printed out our prevention services piece of it. This is just our prevention department. So this is about 12 pages. You can see in here, these are all the outcomes from all the programs we did throughout Sussex County last year, our school-based programs. So Hopatcong is included in here as well. So feel free to contact us, ask us any questions. We're here to help. We do offer treatment for those with substance use disorder, and we have a recovery community center. Our recovery community center is actually here in Hopatcong every other week at the Hopatcong Community Center. We have a representative here, so we've been in your community. We don't plan on going anywhere, and Catherine is our main girl here, delivering programs to your students, and developed a great rapport with your kids. I've been filling in. We've had a lot of people out sick, so when I walk through the hallways, everybody's saying, "Oh, Miss Catherine," even the teachers. So it's kind of cool to see. She's been here for quite a while in Hopatcong, and teachers and students both feel comfortable. You can see that there's some outcomes that I had shared when we put your 1-pager together about Hopatcong programs. So you can take a look at those outcomes, but we make sure that we meet the goals of all of our objectives. And not only did we meet them, but we exceeded them. So, our minimum is 75% of students need to show an increase in certain measurements, and at least we had 75. A lot of times it was 90% of our kids identified, positive coping skills, people that they could turn to in their school community, ways to say no to peer pressure. And again, you have that in your packet. For anybody else that wanted information about that, you can go to our website, centerforprevention.org, and just look at our annual report to see that data. So, go ahead.
Christina, the school counselors, the administrators, and the parents who know of you think very highly of the programs that you put forth. And I just wanted to say, on behalf not only of Dr. Picarillo, but of myself, it was 4 years ago, I remember bringing back here.
Yeah.
I am just honored to work with you, and I know that those people feel the same way. So you
Thank
have a
you.
most humble and appreciative thank you.
Thank you. It's good to be here, really.
Jerry?
Where do you get your funding?
So, for this school, a lot of the funding is through the New Jersey Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, but also we have funding for the high school program through Newton Medical Center, their community advisory board. But last year, we rolled out a program, a pilot program, Life Skills, for a lower grade. I think it was like maybe 4th grade. There was a need and there was no funding. So your Hopatcong Municipal Alliance, which I'm hoping you're all familiar with, they paid for your for Hopatcong Life Skills. From that success, we were able to write for grants for life skills for grades 3, 4, and 5 for the school for all the kids. Last year was just a pilot with like maybe 30 kids.
The reason why I ask is that I think this is probably one of the most critical intervention and/or prevention programs in light of the proliferation of drugs throughout not just Hopatcong, not just the school district. If you had to venture a supposition, how much more money do you think you might be able to use to make your program as effective as it is, even more effective?
Are you asking me for a dollar amount right now?
No, just in, I think we're all pretty much familiar with the fentanyl issue. I actually lost a nephew to a fentanyl overdose, so I'm particularly sensitive to these kinds of programs. And I think these are critical. I think the support for these are critical. As a Board of Education and as a very, very satisfied client, is there anything that we can do to help you increase the amount of money that you get?
Well, thank you, and I can get back to you on that. I know there's a lot of community funding that we've been able to tap into. Like I said, somebody here in your district asked for life skills for 7th graders. We wrote a grant, but I'll definitely get back to you. The Alliance, the Hopatcong Alliance has been a major contributor to funding. We actually did, and we're going to do it again this year through Alliance funding, Addiction 101, which talked about fentanyl, which talks about Narcan, talks about the counterfeit pills that are out there. We did that for all of your 9th graders last year. And then we did a vaping program too for your 7th graders, and that was through Alliance funding. So my magic wand would be life skills training for all students. That is needed, not only in Hopatcong, but all of our districts in Sussex County, because of the changes in the marijuana law, because of kids being out of school for almost a year and a half to 2 years because of COVID. Lots of different factors there. The availability of substances is so much greater now than it ever was. There is a need for
Then I
that.
certainly would like to echo and repeat the appreciation and the praise for the program and for the services that you provide. I think from where I sit, those services are absolutely
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll continue to be here as long as you will continue to have us.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been asked to give a report on state assessment. In order for me to do this, I need to pace, so please bear with me as I go through this. I am required to break the report down into every subsection of students. If I did exactly what they asked, we would be here for 2 hours. I will not do that to you. I will do the best I can. So let me give you some generalities about the state assessment. This is the spring NJSLS testing. Remember, our kids have not been in school too much prior to that testing, and it is really a benchmark as to where we will be comparing things in the future. Grades 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11 were tested. That means 8 grades were tested. On the average, there were 52 female students in each grade, 54 male students, 34 Hispanic Latino children, 3 Asian children, 6 African American children, 63 white students, 16 per grade level were economically disadvantaged, 24 had an IEP, 7 had a 504 plan, and about 3% were ELL students, students who are learning the language. Not all students who are ELL students, English language learners, take the test, but as soon as they begin making progress, they're made to take the test. So, one of the items that I need to highlight is the idea that 24% of the kids who took the test have an IEP. That means they have a special education issue, That means they're educated by special education teachers. 7 have 504 plans, which also designate a disability. And again, 3 per grade level don't speak the language to the point where perhaps maybe these kids should not be tested. Nevertheless, we go about with what we scored, and I must say this. There are encouraging signs at the early grade level. Some of the interventions that were put in place in terms of phonics, in terms of Wilson-based foundation reading, in terms of Orton-Gillingham instruction, we're beginning to see improvement at the lower grades, and that is going to greatly help us as time goes on. But for now, the test scores are in need of improvement. I'm comparing state to district in my comparison, so please bear with me. The first grade level tested is grade 3 in English language arts. The state average score was 740. The district average score was 740. That's an encouraging circumstance. English 4, state score 746. Hopatcong score 734. Not too bad, we can correct that. English 5, 748 was the state score, 738 the Hopatcong score. Again, something we can test. The state breaks it down into kids who have not met any of the proficiencies to kids who are approaching them, and we have a large percentage of our kids approaching being proficient, and that's a vital thing because that is the easiest group in which to make corrective action. At grade 6, 746 for the state, 741 for local. Grade 7, 8, and 9 were somewhat alarming. State average, 751 at grade 7, 733 in the Hopatcong. Grade 8, 750 state, 730 Hopatcong. Grade 9, 746, 729. Those are alarming items. What we've done to try to improve the situation, the state has graciously given us a breakdown of question by question. How many of our kids were successful in that question? How many were not? We've shipped those out to the teaching staff so that the teaching staff has an idea as to what standards our kids are struggling on. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting because our kids might do really great on English language arts writing conventions, but they have significant difficulty with reading information. So there's some things that we can improve via the data analysis. It is our intent, in speaking with the administrative staff, it is our intent to give our teachers in service time in January for the purpose of reviewing those test scores, reviewing the question by question analysis, and ascertain where in teaching we need to improve. I'm not going to give you each and every grade level and every score, but I will say we have worries at grade 4 in math, where the state average was 740 and the Hopatcong score was 725, and grade 8 math, where the average was 716 and the Hopatcong score was 692. We did not do well in Algebra 2 and Geometry, and again, we need to analyze where we are in terms of the questions the state asked, and to see how we can improve that. But please note, for example, at grade 8 in math, I mentioned 716 state average, 692 Hopatcong. Only 15% of kids in the state, only 15% of kids in the state achieved what would be a passing grade. So please understand, the test itself is an experimental circumstance. It's taken after a COVID circumstance, and the results will be able to compare as time goes on how we do against these results. So I'm looking forward to the future. I'm not a great champion fan of state testing. I believe that what we do with special ed kids is not fair, but nevertheless we have to test them. I believe what we do with ELL kids is not fair, but we have no choice. We have to test them. So we will do the best we can to continue to analyze, and hopefully with the outcome of improvement. There are some surprises. Our Latino population has done very well in terms of overall scores at various test levels. Our special ed kids, generally speaking, do not do well on the test, but there are aberrations to that, where our 30% of our special ed kids are getting a proficient score. That's a lot. That's a lot for kids who have an IEP. So it is a constant battle for us to try to constantly improve, and we will continue to do that. There are also other tests given. One of them has to do with the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment. This is a test given to juniors last year. The state performance was not good. 61% of kids in the state were not yet graduation ready according to this test. In Hopatcong, that number was 85%. That's a worrisome circumstance. However, as I said before, we have kids who are on the verge of proficiency, and those are the kids we need to work with especially to try to make them get over the proverbial hump. In mathematics graduation proficiency, the state average was 50% of not being ready to graduate. Hopatcong's was 57%, so a little closer there than in the English. I have a strong feeling that our students don't take testing especially seriously, and I think that's something that we need to drill into them a little bit more, the idea that a state test is an assessment of what you've learned throughout your time in school, and it's important. And I believe that we need to make sure our teachers can bring that message to our kids, especially kids who are new to the country, especially our kids who are new to the district, especially our kids who are dealing with an IEP or a 504 plan. We can make progress on this particular item. Like I said, I can stand up here for 2 hours. I know you don't want me to do that. Members of the board, any questions or comments? You have the full explanation of everything. If anybody in the audience has any questions or comments, feel free to email me. If you need data, I'll provide it to you. We are getting better at making sure that every query we receive receives an answer. Any questions from the audience? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have 2 more items to cover very briefly. Item 1 has to do with the Gifted and Talented program, which is a new program which has been kicked off by Ms. Alyssa Russo, who is our media specialist, social studies teacher, and now Gifted and Talented teacher. We have kids were tested over the summer using a COGAT battery of testing designed especially for the identification of gifted and talented children. There are on average of 5 kids from each of our classes in the program. Some have 6 because kids tied on their scores, and we let both of them in. The program has begun. I had a great time working through the evaluations with the kids. I got to meet a whole group of kids who were motivated, kids who were looking to compete against each other academically. It was pretty exciting. And Mrs. McFadden, principal at Durga, was a great help in that particular circumstance. Last thing I have to do is the October 10th Professional Development Day that we had. During that time, I had, in the room down the hall, I had all the phys ed and health teachers completing the curriculum in each health grade, and that curricula has to put forth the new standards, okay? We talked about controversial issues. We talked about what to instruct and what not to instruct, and how to give parents warning on anything regarding sexuality needs to be put out there before they get to it in the curricula. And I was very pleasantly surprised. We're actually finished that. It needs to be typed up. I have a special person who does my typing. I will be giving that stuff to her this week, and she will get that done. We will then post it and make sure that people have access to that curriculum. Additionally, the same thing had to be done with the social studies standards, the 2020 standards in social studies. I had a very industrious group of teachers from grades K through 7 work on that particular item, and we, again, were very successful. We just need to get it typed up and get it ready. The DPR, which I talked about under CUSAC, and then Dr. Piccolo's report is due November 15th. All of this stuff needs to be finalized by then. We're moving and grooving, as they say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bart. Is there a motion to approve items 7A and B?
I'll make the motion.
Jeff, please call the roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert,
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano,
Pardon me, yes.
Mr. Falconetti, Mr. Falcone,
Yes.
It's overworked.
I've been called for it.
I was gonna say.
Mr. Grunfelder,
Yes.
Ms. Goulant,
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt,
Yes.
Ms. Turkington, Ms. Polachina,
Yes.
Mr. Francis.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna go back to this item. Have a good night. We're gonna go back to this item
Yes.
because we missed a hip.
Item B, there was one HIP investigation that came about at the end of September. It was not, the investigation did not end up in the result of it being a harassment, intimidation, and bully circumstance. Student was disciplined and is receiving counseling. Who was a victim, who was victimized, and the kids who were the perpetrators of the action have been disciplined and are also receiving counseling so that there's nothing happening again. That is the first reading, and it'll be the second reading next month, sir.
All right, so you just have to reapprove it. Jeff, please do that again.
Absolutely. Ms. Falcone Schubert,
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano,
Yes.
Mr. Falcone,
Yes.
Mr. Grunfelder,
Yes.
Ms. Goulant,
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt,
Yes.
Ms. Turkington,
Yes.
Sorry.
Ms. Polachina,
Yes.
and Mr. Francis.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Item 8, acknowledgements and correspondence. I'll go through this one. Item A, congratulations to Amelie Saito on being awarded the Girl Scout Silver Award, and a thank you for for the installation of the Little Free Library by Vets Field. Amelie, I hope you're watching. Good job. Item B, following students were chosen as Hopatcong High School Students of the Month for their outstanding performance in September of 2022. Grade 8, Xavier Laplace. Grade 9, Nicholas Hubers. Honorable mention, Tobias Bornicelli, Sarang Angela Lee, Isabel Martinez, and Kayla Wright. Grade 10, Megan Hychinski. Grade 11, Ned Trey Duke. Honorable mention, Jessica Friedman. Grade 12, Tatiana Sinegra. Honorable mention to Cesar Arana, Dante Bonafede, Brandon Grachulski, and Nathaniel Weber. And item C, the following students were chosen as Hopatcong High School Scholar Athlete of the Month for their outstanding performance in September of 2022. Boys soccer, Kevin Krusczak, sophomore, and girls soccer, Jeannie Henderson, junior. Congratulations to all of you. Item 9 is parent-teacher organizations. Do we have anyone that would like to speak about parent-teacher organizations?
Well, we got project graduation fundraising underway. We successfully did the moms. We're going to be doing some Christmas stuff. We'll be getting the flyer out soon. And we're in the works to bring in the Wizards back to Hopatcong.
Nice.
Woo!
That was fun. I went.
So what's the date? February 16th. February 16th.
All right. Thank you. Item 10 is public comment. Tom Friel.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Scott, for this ability for us to speak to the board. That's tremendous. I have an issue that I haven't heard mentioned particularly, and I do want to bring it up in particular. Particularly, I would like to address the entire board, but particularly Nicole Falcone Sherwood and Philip DeStefano, because you're on ballot. So it's important for us to know your opinion on things more so than the board in general at this moment. The state evidently is going to, or intends to, has already declared they will require every student to have a COVID-19 shot to attend our schools. And I guess it wouldn't be too much of a guess to figure out that I'm against such mandate. And here's the reasons for my position. Number one, it's still listed as an FDA experimental to be used only in emergency purposes. And the consensus seems to be that the emergency is over. I understand even the President of the United States made some comment to that extent. Also, beyond the fact of urgency, we have some issues that we have to deal with. There seems to be coronary and other physical aspects of teenagers in particular, but young people in school dropping dead that have recently or just had their shot. That's something we have to look at. We have an unusual number of mental conditions being recorded by that whole part of the medical field for people who have received the shot. Now, in addition to that, there is the fact that it's not a vaccine. It doesn't stop the spread. Main definition of vaccine, to stop the spread. So we're looking at these factors and the long-term factor of what is going on with the RNA factor in when you receive this shot. I really question that we should just give it a broad brush, okay, everybody gets the idea. And not only that, but without parental approval. Everybody's got to get it to come to school. Now, frankly, solely in my own speaking, that's un-American. We don't work that way in this country. So I would like your comments, the two of you, on where you are with the mandatory COVID-19 shot.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
We're going to have the opportunity for board members to give comments at the end.
All right, yeah.
All right. Tina? Left? Okay. Catherine, I guess left also, right? Okay. Julia?
Nice. All right. So, regarding the fentanyl concerns, I'm just going to give my observation and opinion. There seem to be a large amount of concerns in this one area of, I'll say, substance abuse, but it's not really an issue in high school. It's not really an issue in middle school that I know of, because I work with middle schoolers now. I'm directing their play. So I have a diverse group of kids who I can ask questions about. And first of all, most of the middle schoolers, although they are, I'll say, mature for their age because they have access to the internet, which gives them access to all this information, have no clue what fentanyl is. As for the high school, that's not really an issue that we're facing. Our primary issue in the high school would be surrounded with vaping. Honestly, it's an issue that we've had since vaping has been beginning. And I don't want to invalidate or discredit anyone's particular stance on fentanyl. However, I feel like we're stressing too much on that particular topic and not really observing the other things that we're actually facing in district. The issue that we have with the bathrooms that the high school is trying to figure out regarding how to monitor students who are attempting to vape in bathrooms is something that has been going on for a while, and it's enough of an issue. It's unfortunately one of the only things that students seem to keep mentioning whenever I ask if there's anything that they think should be brought to the board. There are the students who feel it is incredibly stupid, is their word, to have the bathrooms constantly monitored. Now, those are the students that are typically offenders. And then there is the other group of students who happen to be students that just literally want to use the bathroom. and we've put systems in place in order to try and combat what's going on in high school. However, I guess for me, it's just really important to express and let everyone know that fentanyl is not something we should be worrying about as much as we are, and we should really be focusing on the vaping happening.
Thank you, Julia. All right. Item 11 is finance.
I asked.
I mean, yeah, you can after. Item 11 is finance, is recommended by the superintendent. Bills for the general fund and special revenues. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Item 11, finance. Are we looking for an approval for items A through G?
I'll move it, G.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on finance? Hearing none. Jeff, please call the roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert,
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano,
Yes.
Mr. Falcone,
Yes.
Mr. Gruenfelder,
Yes.
Ms. Gulon,
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt,
Yes.
Ms. Turkington,
Yes.
Ms. Polachina,
Yes.
Mr. Francis.
Yes. Item 12 is personnel. Is there a motion to approve item 12A through N?
I'll move it, Gwen.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a point of order.
Sure.
On item J, can I understand why there is a rescission of $7,500 for each one of those gentlemen?
Yes, please.
That is because at the time of these, that the assistant facilities manager and head custodian were put in place, we did not have a facilities manager. As a result of the hiring of Mr. Smith as the manager, we now have somebody in place and we don't need those two positions, sir, hence the rescission.
So those positions are being eliminated?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion?
The positions are being...
Hearing none. Jeff, please call the roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert,
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano,
Yes.
Mr. Falcone,
Yes.
Mr. Gruenfelder,
Yes.
Ms. Gulon,
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt,
Yes.
Ms. Turkington,
Yes.
Ms. Polachina,
Yes.
and Mr. Francis.
Yes. Item 13 is travel and professional development. Is there a motion to approve item 13?
I'll move it, G.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion on item 13?
Yes, I have a question. Since there's been a restructuring of the attendees for the convention, what not that resolution or that part of the resolution be reworded to reflect that?
There is a place where we need to rescind Joseph and myself attendance. I'm looking for it right now, sir. Unless she may have updated it.
So
I
I'm
don't
not-
see you guys.
Yeah, I'm not seeing
I
it.
see Jeff.
Yeah, it was updated as of this morning when both of those, when Mr.
She was able to,
DiBenedetto and Mr. Picarello had to pull out.
Okay.
So right now, it should read Mr. McCowan and Ms. Longo, Ms. McCarthy, Ms. Brennan, Ms. Martinez for a virtual workshop, Ms. Martinez for master scheduling, Ms. Brennan, Mr. Hollenbeck, Mr. Gruenfelder, and Mr. DeStefano.
Copy that. Any other discussion?
Yeah, just to mention, as most of you know, we're in a very tight financial squeeze, and in light of that fact, although I've had to use the Board of Education to make the arrangements for me to attend that conference, whatever costs may be incurred by the board, I intend to fully reimburse, so there will be no expense to the Board of Education for my attendance.
The board appreciates that, Jerry. Jeff, please call the roll.
For item 13, travel and professional development, Ms. Falcone Schubert,
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano,
Yes.
Mr. Falcone,
Yes.
Mr. Grunfelder,
Yes.
Ms. Gulon,
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt,
Yes.
Ms. Turkington,
Yes.
Ms. Polachena,
Yes.
and Mr. Francis.
Yes. Item 14 is policy and regulations. Is there a motion to approve item 14A and B?
Move it.
I'll move it.
I heard some mumbling, but we'll take it. Yes and yes? Second, yes? Any discussion?
There will be some discussion.
Item 14.
Phil.
Uh-oh, here
There will
comes
be some
Phil.
discussion. All right, so 4142.1, and we'll start there. That's a new policy. That's not a required or a mandated policy.
I'm sorry, Phil, which one?
Yeah,
6142.
Okay, you said different numbers.
you're trying to trick us already, Phil.
Got ya,
41,
family
42.
life.
41 something.
All right, so the first one,
It's my
family life.
sixth year. Okay.
Okay.
There's, let's see, the fifth paragraph, any student whose parent guardian presents to the school principal a signed statement that any part of the instruction in health, family life education, or sex education is in conflict with their conscience or moral or religious beliefs shall be excused from that portion of the course where such instruction is being given, and no penalties to credit or graduation shall result therefore. That's basically a direct quote from the law. Next sentence, the school district will communicate an overview of topics at the start of the semester to parents, guardians, prior to instruction in an effort to be transparent and forthcoming. A reminder of the approaching controversial topics will be sent a week prior to the lesson. So the concern I have is, I'm a little concerned about basically giving too much work to the administration staff. I think once is enough, that they do it just basically at the beginning of the semester, or even once at the beginning of the school year, as to what those controversial subjects are, give them all the detail they require, and if they then want to object or have questions, that should be sufficient, and let them ask the questions and resolve it with the superintendent. I just want to reduce the overload. I mean, we did discuss this in the SAC committee meeting, and we did in fact ask for both, but I think we're going a little bit too far. I don't know what you all think.
I agree with you.
All right, let's amend it. Phil?
So basically, the last sentence in that paragraph, a reminder of approaching controversial topics will be sent a week prior to the lesson. That should be removed. All right, are you okay with this?
Yes, sir, I am okay with the policy. I will carry that.
All right, so that was the only one on that. And then the next one is 2200, which is a regulation. I got that one right, I'm sure. Basically, this is an old regulation, and the only thing added to it is at the very end of it. And I will read the addendum. Or not addendum, but the addition. The Board of Education recognizes that due to the district's adherence to the 2020 New Jersey State Learning Standards in comprehensive health and physical education, some curriculum content may not be palatable to all members of the community. As such, families will be able to opt out of select controversial topics in health classes 2, 5, 8, and 12. I think they really have that option in any of the classes.
That is correct.
You agree with
Any
me?
class, yes, so you are
Any class.
correct.
All right, so maybe we can amend that to say any class. In all grades, instead of losing grades, just change
The
it
letter
to say all
specifies
grades.
that.
Then it says a list of topics will be provided to students' health teacher and parents, guardians will be alerted 7 days prior. That comes out too.
Right.
Okay. And one thing I would like added, okay, so the rest that's fine. There's the second paragraph there. It says students who have opted out will be given an alternate assignment. Students opting out will not be responsible for the specific topics covered in the lesson. I would also like to add a reminder to teachers that teachers must adhere to the controversial subjects regulation, which I forget the number, but we do have that new regulation that we approved 2 months or 3 months ago. So I would like that added as well.
Okay.
Okay. Is that all right? All right.
Everybody cool with that?
Why would you add it? We already have one.
No, it's just a reminder that, well, this is a regulation. It's just that we do this all the time, where we point from one
Okay.
regulation to another. It's just that. It's just a pointer saying, don't forget about this other regulation.
Philip, we're relying on you to get this information.
Right.
All right, what else?
And that's it, that's any changes.
Beautiful.
Oh,
Anybody
I have
else?
some about facilities.
I didn't print that out.
Oh, okay.
We have
So
a new member.
This is new, this facilities policy, or it might not be new, I guess we're just enforcing it. So I have a couple of questions. Basically, if you are an outside school organization, now you're going to be charged for using the facilities because essentially the school district is paying for staff to be there. So instead of all of the town paying for the staff to be there, the group is going to be paying for the staff to be there. I just want to make sure this is only for after hours on Saturdays and Sundays. Because some spots it says on Sundays, but then other spots it just says for like in general school usage. So if you look at number 16, it said organizations outside of school-based organizations will not be given use of facilities for free or for a discount, and a minimum will always be responsible for the cost associated. Okay, hold on, custodial overtime. Okay, that's it then.
Yeah.
So custodial overtime means something. Okay, so you're not going to be charged just to use the space as long as the school is open. So that's going to be, what are the hours then? Just wanted to be
Depends.
sure.
Some Saturdays custodians are there, you will not be charged. Other Saturdays, if there's nobody there, we'll have to have somebody come in and then be charged.
What Saturdays?
Most
will
Saturdays,
not be there? Yeah, that's
most Saturdays, the high school is available for outside groups between 8:30 and 2:30. All right, most Saturdays.
Okay.
That obviously, whenever school is closed for recesses, holiday breaks, and the like, then obviously that doesn't apply. No school building has any custodial coverage on Sunday, and no school other than the high school has any custodial coverage on Saturdays. So this is all overtime. Any outside group that uses the buildings outside of any of those covered times, we're just asking for them to pay for the custodial overtime. We're not charging for the FICA contribution, pension contributions, health insurance costs share. It's just the overtime that goes along with it. In our board policy, it stipulates the rate of $45 an hour for Saturdays and $58 an hour on Sundays, with the business administrator yearly updating that rate based on our collective bargaining agreement. For Sundays for this year, based on collective bargaining, it is $62 an hour. The 45 stays for Saturdays, it's $62 an hour for Sundays.
Okay, but so then listed on that chart, are you being charged $1,200 to use the gym?
Now, only if you are a private group
Okay.
that is looking to rent our facility.
Okay.
You're not school-based, you're not community-based, you're Sarah's dance troupe that wants to come in and rent our auditorium for use, then you're going to be charged the facility fee, the paper towels, all of that, the cleaning
So
fees.
should it say that? Because it only says school-based.
School-based means our community groups. That's
Oh, it
how,
does.
that's how the board has put it in
Defined
place for
them?
years and
Okay.
defined them.
Okay.
Yep, in the reg as well.
Go ahead, Jerry.
With the outside use of facilities, are we aware that we require those outside organizations to post a certificate of insurance?
Part of the.
We develop the paperwork.
I have a question for the board to consider. So we now have a situation where Saturday could potentially be at no cost to somebody, but Sunday will be at a hefty cost. So we have two groups that come to us and they say, I want Saturday because I want it for free. And we say, okay, you can, but you have to go to Sunday to pay. Are we gonna say, sorry, you have to pay and you don't, or do we prorate it across both and have them each pay half the rate? Like, it seems that we could be in a position where we're being unfair to somebody by pushing them to a fee cost on Sunday and letting someone else have the space on Saturday at no cost.
First come, first served.
So,
Is that what we're doing?
I think you should do it that way, but I mean, you want to rent a hall if somebody else has already rented it. Sorry, buddy, try a different date.
I would say that, but also, Scott, I think a lot of the organizations in town are pretty friendly and accommodating with each other. So I think they can work that out.
So just to confirm, like the town recreation basketball program, if they're using the gyms on Saturday, there would not be a fee on that, right?
Depends. If they're asking for the middle school, then absolutely there's a fee because there's no custodial coverage there. If the high school is available, and again, for the board as well, your board policy stipulates that all district athletic events, student body, and student programs supersede any outside group use of facilities. So sports teams get their first swing at their practice times and slots, and that's primarily the reason why we have a custodian at the high school on Saturdays anyway, is to account for our sports programs and things of the like, and then it opens up for everything else after.
I have a question regarding this. So my understanding that a citizen of the town can actually use the weight room?
We
Is that
talked
correct?
about this for a long time, but I don't think it ever came to fruition. Can someone use the weight room who lives in town?
That hasn't been arranged.
Right.
No liability, Chair.
Yeah, no, all right, that's fine.
You're right, we had talked about it.
I think we're done.
And then,
Okay.
I guess my question too is, are groups in town being alerted, or they're just being alerted when they put in the paperwork?
They have no idea. Nobody knows how this will change.
So your board policy has existed in its current form since 2019. Your policy was not enforced during COVID because our facilities were not open and available to them. And over the last several years, as budget cuts, we've moved away from staffing on Sundays. We've moved away from 2 shifts on Saturdays. We used to have 3 shifts throughout all of our buildings for custodial coverage. So now that board policy becomes even more relevant as a result of those cuts. So all of the, to the members of the board, all of those organizations that have put in requests have been notified. Mr. Young was notified of his request and the cost. Mr. Mathesius, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce his last name, for Hopatcong Hawks Soccer, he was notified as well of those costs with an individual breakdown for each of those programs.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other discussion on item 14? Hearing none. Jeff, please call the roll.
Let me get to that section. Ms. Falcone Schubert?
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano?
Yes, with the changes mentioned.
And you're going to provide me with a copy? I have my notes. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Mr. Gruenfelder?
Does Mr. Falcone come before me?
Not this time.
You're mixing it up, baby. He's mixing it up.
Yes.
Mr. Falcone? Ms. Goulant?
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt? Ms. Turkington?
Yes.
Ms. Polachena?
Yes.
And Mr. Francis?
Yes, sir. All right.
Scott, can I make a motion?
Yes.
I know that we have the open forum for people who are in attendance here, but I'd like to afford some of the folks who are not able to come here early to speak, if that's allowed.
Okay. I'll second that. Is there any discussion on that, or?
You have a second?
Reopening public comment for
Yeah,
people
that's fine.
who just got here.
That's fine.
All right. I'm okay with that. Is everybody okay with that? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are. We're reopening public comment. If anybody would like to speak, please just come up here, write your name down. I'll call you in order.
Find out.
That's not in mind.
Ask the question.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want their opinion. Understood. Okay, okay, thank you. Yes.
No.
That's over here, it was for everybody.
Okay, Dave.
I missed most of the meeting because I was at my son's football game, but I just wanted to address the situation of why Hopatcong wrestling and basketball has not been granted any access to any of the gyms. And I kind of figured that was what you guys were just talking about when I walked in. And I was just wondering what was going on. And I don't know, it's a little ridiculous because I think you deny access for the kids, what feeder programs we have for the high school sports?
Well, let's see where we're at with that. Is that statement accurate?
Yes, basketball has not been given access to anything.
And apparently Casey Howard, who was trying to schedule our matches, was denied access to the gym for matches.
Okay, all right. I gotta be honest with you. First I'm hearing of it, so Jeff's got it.
So I can speak to one concern with regard to wrestling, which I was copied on an email correspondence from the coordinator of student activities, that the time that they wanted was not available because boys basketball on a Saturday had practice. And again, I don't want to speak out of turn, so I'm only speaking from the email that I had. The individual in question went to the basketball coach and inquired. The coach gave up that practice slot, but the coach was notified by the coordinator of student activities that the coach had to have practice that day in order to get the NJSIA mandated number of practices in before they could start their season. And that was the last day that they could do it. With regard to basketball, rec basketball, those have been approved and they're in the system. Whoever is getting the emails from the rec basketball program needs to check to see where the emails are going to. It may not be the person who is put in the requests, but was in the system. So if somebody specifically wants to reach out, I saw your email this morning. Unfortunately, I wasn't in the office today, so I will respond to you tomorrow.
The email it's going to, the person doesn't have access to them.
So the emails went, so it's hard for us to say somebody hasn't been granted access or somebody isn't getting an email. You guys just need to change in the system who the person is and the email that it goes to so that you can get those emails.
Beautiful. All right, thank you, Jeff. Jen?
One other thing, as regards for the wrestling, they were told after December 3rd they can have the gym, and then Casey was responded to by saying, no, you can't have it at all. So is it like after December 3rd they have access to the gym, or is it?
I would have to go and look at Casey's requests, and it starts at the coordinator of student athletics that looks at their individual practice times and slots. It could very well be the facility is available, but not at the time they want it, or it may be available at a time that there's going to be a cost associated with it because there is no custodian that is outside of overtime of hours available at that time. So if Casey, I don't know if Casey has reached out to the coordinator of student athletics, but that's where it needs to start.
Because like I said, when I spoke to her yesterday, she was told we have no access to the gyms for any of our matches, just for practice.
And I'd be more than willing to sit down with her and go through it with her and look at the big picture schedule. No problem.
All right, Jen?
I just want to make sure that you said everybody that has to pay for it has been notified? Okay.
Every request that has been questionable has gotten an email, and not even through the system. I took their specific email address, emailed them directly from my email as well, because if I hit cancel, it wipes out all of your dates in the system, and I don't want folks to have to retype all of those dates, because for some of them it's a lot.
Yeah.
So I want them to know ahead of time so we can make modifications as we can. And again, if somebody specific has a question, just reach out and I can go into their individual account and take a look if they haven't gotten an email
It's
back.
like the scouts.
Oh, she reached out to me?
She did.
All of her meeting times fall during our regular custodial coverage, so it's not an issue.
That's what I told her, but.
It's always going
Make
to,
sure.
almost always going to be outside of regular hours,
Got it.
or there's a conflict with another sporting event
Understood.
or activity.
Understood.
Thank you.
You got it.
All right. I'm not saying this tongue in cheek at all, but I think you're going to find we have a very amenable group towards kids and athletics, and Jeff is on the ball. So any of these issues, bring them up, right? You'll get answers. I think that's important. Okay. Item 15, students and services. We have A through D. It looks like 15A through D. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, Jeff, please call the roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert,
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano.
Yes.
Mr. Falcone,
Yes.
Mr. Grunfelder,
Yes.
Ms. Gulon,
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt,
Yes.
Ms. Turkington, Ms. Polachena,
Yes.
and Mr. Francis.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. Item 16 is resolutions. We ask for approval on items A through I. Motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
On item 16A, I see that there are merit goals for Mr. Hallenbeck. In light of our previous discussion in executive session, is that still an appropriate resolution?
So I believe there's a timeline on when these have to be submitted. Jeff, are you aware of that? The timeline?
End of this month, yes.
That's why it needs to be approved tonight.
Okay. Any other?
Okay, just, it doesn't make sense to me to do this in light of the fact that they could be adjusted and or modified depending upon the outcome of the discussions that we had in executive session. And I would hate to pass a resolution and carve them in stone rather than ask for an extension and do it the right way.
Hold on. We're in discussion. I'm gonna say, Jerry, I agree. This is the end of my.
Excuse me?
Yeah, put that on the record. I agree with Jerry. I'm now approaching the end of my 5th year on the school board, and about 3% of what we do makes any sense at all. So I agree with you, but it's a lot of times we're bound by the way that things have to be because of the way they have to be when you're dealing in what I call school board world. If we have a way to out of it, which Art will elaborate off my comment here, I'm all for it. But I think sometimes we're just stuck doing things that don't make sense.
The discussion in executive session, nothing is cast in concrete from that discussion. This is something that is more of a concrete circumstance because of the due date at the end of the month. Passing this could affect your decision down the road, but as of right now, this is an item that has been approved in the past from Mr. Hallenbeck, and given the time circumstance, I think should be approved.
Yeah, I don't think a merit increase has anything to do with anything else. A merit increase is just that, it's a merit increase. I think they're two separate issues. So I still honor the merit increase in light of anything else.
Yeah, the other question that I have is on 16E. Can I understand why that salary adjustment is retroactive, and to what date is it retroactive?
Ms. Malatesta just started with us. She was from, she had to give 60 days notice in her past district in Patterson. Ms. Stephanie, might I impose on you to give us when Ms. Malatesta started recently?
October 10th.
The adjustment in the salary would be something that Dr. Piccirillo would have to answer. I'm not aware of the correct answer to that, sir.
I think I can answer my own question. If in fact it's warranted, and if in fact upon hiring an appointment she was placed on the wrong staff on the salary schedule, then I can certainly. I guess I was confused more by the wording than the actual action. So if that's the case, I'm prepared to vote yes.
I would make a reasonably strong guess that this was just a circumstance where she did not get put on the right step. Whether it was because we were unknown, we didn't know some of her background, or whether it was just a mistake, I can't answer that question, but I appreciate your understanding.
And Mr. Di Benedetto, I can. The good thing with live streaming. It was when she was offered her salary in our collective bargaining agreement, the salary guides are side by side. The item that was entered was from the 2021 guide instead of the 22-23 school year guide.
Do it.
Hi, Dr. P.
Any other discussion on item 16? Good. Hearing none, Jeff, please call the roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert.
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano.
Yes.
Mr. Falcone.
Yes.
Mr. Grunfelder.
Yes.
Ms. Gulon.
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt.
Yes.
Ms. Turkington.
Yes.
Ms. Polachina.
Yes.
And Mr. Francis.
Yes, sir. Okay, item 17, Sussex County Regional Cooperative. Do I have a motion to approve items A through G? Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion on the Sussex County Regional Cooperative? All right, hearing none, Jeff, please call the roll.
Ms. Falcone Schubert.
Yes.
Mr. DeStefano.
Abstain.
Mr. Falcone.
Yes.
Mr. Grunfelder.
Yes.
Ms. Gulon.
Yes.
Ms. Gravatt.
Yes.
Ms. Turkington.
Yes.
Ms. Polachina.
Yes.
And Mr. Francis.
Yes. I think this is the first time in 47 years we don't have an addendum, which is probably a good thing, right? Don't jinx it. All right, item 18 is board member comments. Starting, Jax, you up for it? Thank you on behalf of Jackie Turkington. Go ahead, Jack.
Again, project graduation, a lot of fundraising going underway. We're bringing the Wizards back. We'll be doing Christmas sales and stuff. Hopatcong Chiefs cheerleading competition. They're going to be having their annual purse bingo on November 5th. Pre-sale tickets are on sale now. Reach out to me or any other cheer parent.
Thank you.
Thank you for everyone that came tonight, and I appreciate everyone's patience. To answer your question, sir, I believe in choice. Always believe in choice. A lot of choices with the masks, so parents should be able to choose how they want to raise their kids and what they want to put into their bodies. I am running. I haven't really made any announcements. Unfortunately, Bill and I don't really have any
Big
opposition going on. But if you'd like to find out more about who I am and what I believe in and what I've been doing on the school board, you can check out my Facebook page online.
Thank you for the comment.
What was that?
Go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, he asked a question.
Just thank you, everybody, for coming.
That's it? All right. Jared?
Okay. I was hoping this evening to get an update on the aid application for stabilization. We haven't heard anything about that, and we were supposed to come up with a list of possible adjustments to the budget, both on the expenditure side and the revenue side. I'm not saying that that hasn't taken place, but I'd like to know where it stands. Do we have a chance? Do we still have a chance? Is it still up in the air? Haven't we heard yet?
We've heard from them. They're reviewing our application. They've asked us to make adjustments in it, which Jeffrey, I believe, we sent all of that information in. And we're just waiting very patiently for them to make decisions. And so are a lot of other districts.
Okay, thank you. And unless I'm mistaken, we were scheduled to have a bid opening for banks and bank services on September the 30th. Can I know what the outcome was of that?
It'll be in committee meetings this month.
Oh, good. And next to last, can we get an update on the interface between the accounting system for the co-op and the Board of Education accounting system?
I'm not sure I understand the question. They use, both of us use Systems 3000.
We had a meeting a few months ago. The auditor was in attendance, and we talked about trying to figure out some kind of accounting and bookkeeping crosswalk or fix,
Okay.
so that we could incorporate, because my understanding was that the transportation co-op was on a different accounting system than the Board of Education, and I just want to know whether or not they've been merged.
So they use Bus Pro for their billing. They have to use Systems 3000 for their accounting program. There is no available software that will connect the two together. So they are working with their consultant and the auditor to use, and I don't want to say a proprietary software name, but something like a QuickBooks accounting program that they can dump everything in and then import it into Systems 3000. There's no direct connection, but there's a way for them to do it with minimal steps. So that's what they're working on now.
Okay, I appreciate that update. So happy to see so many people coming to the Board of Education. Since I've been on the board, the one thing that I've noticed that really distresses me is the extent of apathy in the community. I would really like to see the room filled up, because we work for you, we represent you, and unless we know what your thoughts and your ideas and changes that you want to see, we're kind of working in the dark, and I don't think that's really fair either to us or to you. So I thank all of those of you who came tonight, and I would encourage you to talk to other people and bring them as well. But thanks very much. Those are all my comments.
Thank you. Bill Z.
Julia, quick question. When you say vape, what kind of vape? What are they vaping? Tobacco, marijuana, water.
Honestly, I couldn't say specifically. I just know I've seen shake pens in the bathrooms. It's why I personally don't go into the bathrooms. Gummy bears.
Okay, you're really right, because either way, it's not permitted, no matter what it is. That's good, thank you. Tom, you wanted a question about the COVID thing. I agree with my member mate, whatever you call it. What do you call that? It's like that teammate, but I guess it's...
You're my friend.
Yeah, that's right. And I agree. It should really be up to the parents. They should make the decision. But however, I have to question you about you said a law was passed to do this?
No, I didn't say it was passed. I didn't know what state it was in.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like the real. I try to be the expert on policy, and I get to look at all the laws and all the new policies that are coming out, and I haven't seen anything like that yet. Okay, so
Well, it's
if it
being
does come back,
discussed from Trenton, obviously.
yeah, sure, eventually, but nothing's crossed my desk on it. I'll put it that way.
It's just a concern that people have asked me about, and no one except you now have spoken to it. And that's what the public needs, is to hear representatives, whether it be in whatever political body or school board body, to have a sense of what the people are getting concerned about before it becomes a big balloon. You know, so I appreciate the comments very much.
But just to understand something, ultimately we have to follow the law as well. We don't really have much of a choice. In most cases, if they pass a law that says every student in this state is going to be a student attending public school anyway is required to get a COVID shot, I don't know that there's anything that we can do to stop it.
You may not be able to do anything to stop
Oh,
it,
no,
but then it's our turn out here.
Absolutely, and we're right behind you. One last thing, it has to do with regionalization. As you know, regionalization is a means by which multiple districts can potentially combine to some extent to help save some money, come up with ways of saving money. I've talked with, in the past with Dr. Piccirillo about this, and he said that most other districts are not interested in doing regionalization because the cost of doing the study, was not necessarily going to be refunded. Well, I've talked with 2 different lawyers, esquires as they call themselves, in the NJSBA at county meetings, they call them, county board meetings. And they both said, yes, it's 100% refundable. You get 100% of the money regardless of the disposition or the result of the study. So,
We have a lawyer right here.
what do you say, sir? Can you take this one back?
Direct conflict with what we were told from the state.
Like, we went through, yeah, we'll talk, we went through all this. It's like, yes, do it, and then they're like, actually,
We don't know if we're gonna
Well,
reimburse you. We might.
I'm just passing on the information
Yeah.
because,
What's considered
if it makes sense for us, we should do it. If it doesn't matter what they ask us, if it still makes sense for us, we should still do it. And if it doesn't make sense, and the result of the study is no, we shouldn't do it, we still get paid for doing the study. That's the point. That's what they said, 2 of them. Not 1, 2. All right, that's all I have to say. Thank you all for coming. And drive home carefully. It was raining when I came in here, and the roads were a little slippery because of the leaves, so be careful. Believe me.
Yeah, again, just to reiterate, thanks for everybody for coming. I know, just piggyback to Jerry's point, sometimes it's not easy for everybody to pack this room, but I'm sure there's a lot of folks online, so thanks to all the parents and members of the community who take time out of their day to come and voice their opinion. And Tom, thank you for sharing your opinion. I think, well, at least I'm in total agreement.
It's also Monday night football.
It is Monday Night Football.
I guess we put it together.
This is much more exciting.
How do we close this one up? I just always, I think what's important to understand and try to keep in the forefront of our minds is, we're bored, but more importantly than us, there's administrators, there's principals, there's teachers, there's all the people in the buildings are the people that we have to rely on to do this stuff and get this stuff right. I'll be the first one to admit, I'm not qualified to make decisions on what best runs a school. I'm a guy from town, right? You all know me. So we do the best we can to keep these guys in check and make sure that we're not going off the rails. But we have to believe in the people that we have. Right now, that's Joe, that's Art, that's Jeff, and that's the building principals like Stephanie, and we're here to support them. So I want everybody to hear that. I also, every time I want to thank my peers here. People are putting in a lot of time on this stuff, and it's appreciated. So hope everybody has a great night. And with that, item 19 is motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
No.
Have a good night, everyone.
It's around the board meeting.
That's all, baby.
Who is that?
I don't know about good.
You're like a machine.
She's not on
I don't remember.
She was trying to call her. So what happened was they the chairs so we have to take so her and I are trying to get basketball going. John called no time. What's going on?